So by now, I'm sure many or most or all of you have heard that uh, Jimmy Cliff has passed away, I believe at the age of 81. Um, and as music fans, we sometimes we don't know which ones are going to hit us the most. Big, you know, losses in the world of music that have really hit me. David Berman, Bill Fay, but Jimmy Cliff. It's been sticking with me for the past few days, and I won't claim to. I've been a huge Jimmy Cliff fan. I looked at the records that I have of his, and this great one that I listened to yesterday, "Wonderful World, Beautiful People," and of course the classic, "The Harder They Come," which I bought not long ago, have yet to open, and I'm going to listen to this next. Um, and I just have a few little Jimmy Cliff stories that have been coming to mind over the past few days. One is, Lane would always talk about the song "Many Rivers to Cross." And I think it was in High Fidelity, the movie High Fidelity, where John Cusack said that he wanted "Many Rivers to Cross" to be played at his funeral. Was that in High Fidelity, or did Lane say that? Or did Lane say that because of High Fidelity? I can't remember. But whenever Jimmy Cliff's name would come up, I would think of how much Lane loved that song. And it is a truly gorgeous, gorgeous song, if you're not familiar with it. So give a listen to "Many Rivers to Cross." Then I had one more before the sort of more personal story. Escaping me, it'll come back to me. But the big one is, for me, I saw Jimmy Cliff live once, and he performed on Apple campus, and not like in one of the big lawns or. This was April of 2012. I started working at Apple. I worked on the App Store, so the business side of the App Store. I started there in October of 2011, and we lived in. I worked in like one of the smaller buildings, not on main campus. This is well before Apple Park. So we're at sort of one of like the satellite office. This is like a side office, just like a really kind of standard like office park building. Because the App Store is, at least as a team, was still fairly new at Apple. I think when I was on the team, there were like, in the US, there were maybe 12 of us, 15. I'm not sure. But it was small. And one of the things I learned in the first few weeks is that one of the iTunes offices, I think the main iTunes office, was across the street from us. I remember it was across the street, and then next to that was like a big gym. And one of my colleagues told me that every once in a while, since we had an atrium in our building, artists would come over and perform. And I was like, who? And I can't remember who he said that had performed prior, but in my time there, I saw Chuck Prophet perform. I saw Andrew Bird. I'm pretty sure Andrew Bird, like 99%. I didn't take photos of that one, but I did of Chuck Prophet. And then the big one, the one that when I heard about it, I think I heard about it the day before, was sort of, could not believe that I was going to have the privilege of seeing Jimmy Cliff. So Jimmy Cliff, I think it was right after lunch, maybe it was in the morning. I just know I was sitting sort of at my desk, and somebody sort of like casually walked by and like, oh, that performance is happening now. So I walked out, and it's this atrium. They had like seats set up. There were probably 50 seats, and it was mostly full, I would say. Like a little stage set up. And a few minutes later, I saw Jimmy Cliff walk in, and it was. I've heard many people talk about when they met Mavis Staples, that it was like being in the presence of something bigger. I've heard a lot of people say that. A friend of mine who had met her a few times in San Francisco said that it was like an otherworldly experience. I've heard artists that I like who have worked with Mavis have said the same thing. And Jimmy Cliff gave off a little bit of the same vibe. It's hard to explain. Like, and these are pictures from that day. There's one. So that's him sitting in front of, I don't know, 50 people at Apple. There he is again. I didn't take any video, just took snapped a few photos. And I remember just being in absolute awe and thinking of how incredibly lucky I was to be able to be in that room. And I was sort of looking around like, does everybody realize like what we're witnessing here? And I remember him coming off the stage, and he sort of like ushered himself towards the door. I guess that would be somebody else ushering him, but I remember he was like sort of waving and like, and I wanted to say hello and to thank him for his music, but I was too nervous, too awestruck, whatever the right words are. And I remember I just went back to the office, and that's all I talked about, I think, for days was, I can't believe we just saw Jimmy Cliff right outside there where I go to get coffee or lunch. What an absolute treat. Working at Apple afforded me a lot of those moments, but the Jimmy Cliff one was one of right near the top. So I've been watching clips of Jimmy Cliff the last few days. The other I was going to mention is Bruce Springsteen's cover of Trapped, which is one of my favorite covers of any song. But I will admit that I didn't really know the original, and I listened to it a few days ago. Or I listened to it the day that I found out, or the day that we heard that he passed, I think it's 2 days ago. And it was not what I expected at all. Trapped, at least Springsteen's cover, live, is a very like anthemic, arena rocking, really builds up. And when you hear the first notes of the song, the crowd just knows it. Like it's become a Springsteen staple. But Jimmy Cliff's version is much different. I like it, but just not what I expected. So I just wanted to do a short video. I was gonna do it as a short, but I figured I would probably ramble on a little bit longer about that time at Apple. Listen to some Jimmy Cliff, just a tremendous artist, and he just seemed like a really incredible soul, and I'm glad that I was able to share a room with him, or be in the same room with him once in my life. So rest in peace, Jimmy Cliff. Thank you for the music. Thank you for the humanity. And I'm going to put on one of your records. I'm going to put on The Heart of the Accountant right now. Hope you all have a good Thanksgiving. I'll talk to you soon.